Good morning, students of class 10. You are welcome back to the E-classes now. Let's continue our lesson in history, the nationalist movement in Indochina. We are doing that. And we have reached 5.0, the vision of modernization. The vision of modernization, in our previous class also we have done a little bit. There various questions arose, and the nationalists were quite puzzled to answer those questions, and they had to think in many ways to answer these questions. Now here, the vision of modernization, 5.0 points. This is the subtitle. Here is the number of the subtitle. In the process of modernization, because French thought that these people must be modernized, and they took number of steps to modernize the Vietnamese. And in the process of modernization, the tradition, culture and the religion of the Vietnamese have to be removed. They had to be removed, and people in many times, in many places, people protested. They thought that it is the loss of their identity and culture and religion. So here, in the process of modernization, many questions had arisen. Many questions arose. It had arisen. So now here, different answers were offered by the intellectuals, educated Vietnamese. Different answers were offered to such questions. Various questions. What is it to be modern? Why do we need to be modern? In the process of modernization, do we have to consider our tradition as backward? And like this, so many questions we have already learned in our previous class. Or do we consider our tradition and culture, or do we have to follow and copy everything from the West or Western civilizations? All these things, these questions. So different answers were offered to such questions. Some intellectuals, educated Vietnamese, some intellectuals felt that Vietnamese tradition had to be strengthened. Some intellectuals felt that no, we must not copy from the West. We must strengthen our culture and religion and tradition to resist, to stop the domination of the West. In order to stop the domination of the West, we have to strengthen our tradition, culture and religion. So some intellectuals provided these ideas, and others, while other intellectuals felt that Vietnam had to learn from the West. Some other educated people, intellectuals, felt that no, Vietnam has to learn something from the West, even while opposing foreign domination. While opposing foreign domination, while opposing the French, we have to learn something from the West. So some other intellectuals felt in this way. So there was a clash between the ideas, the clash of ideas between these intellectuals. So now here, these offering visions, differing, not offering, these differing visions led to complex debates, discussions, which could be easily resolved or solved. The views and visions differed among the intellectuals, but these visions, differing visions, could be easily solved. So now let's see. Educated in, now here is one more nationalist, Vietnamese, educated in the Confucian tradition, Confucian in Chinese tradition, educated in the Confucian tradition, Quan Bai Cha. He is a Vietnamese nationalist. He was a leader also, a writer also. Confucian tradition. China was ruled by Confucius, and he provided a number of ideas, and people followed those ideas and ideals, and later on it became Confucian tradition. So this educated Confucian tradition in the Confucian tradition, Pan Bai Cha, 1867, he was born in 1867 and died in 1940. This is his birth and death. Pan Bai Chao was one such nationalist, Vietnamese nationalist. He was greatly influenced by Confucian tradition, Chinese culture. He met Chinese reformer, social reformer, named Liang Quicho, named Liang Quicho in 1905. He went to China and he met the social reformer, and the social reformer Quicho advised him. Pan Bai Chao's most influential book, Pan Bai Chao wrote a book, very influential book and very popular, The History of the Loss of Vietnam. Now remember this is the name of the book. Who wrote the history of the loss of Vietnam? Who wrote this book? Pan Bai Chao. So Pan Bai Chao's most influential book, The History of the Loss of Vietnam, was written under the strong influence of and advice of Quicho, a Chinese reformer. He was a Chinese reformer. Under his advice and influence, Confucian tradition and influence, under the strong influence and advice of Quicho, a social reformer, Pan Bai Chao, I think you have not seen. Pan Bai Chao's most influential book, The History of the Loss of Vietnam, written by Pan Bai Chao, was written under the strong influence and advice of Quicho. This book became the bestseller in Vietnam as well as in China. So this book was very, very much popular. It was sold like hotcakes in the market. And most of the Vietnamese intellectuals, they went through this book, and in China also it became very, very much popular. So now in our next class we'll talk about what was written according to what ideas was provided by this book. What was the content of the book? The History of the Loss of Vietnam. It's all about influential book. In our next class we'll talk about the content of the book, what it showed the Vietnamese, what ideas were provided in this book. So we'll talk about that in our next class, about this. The ideas of the Vietnamese, Pan Bai Chao's influential book, what ideas he has provided in the book. And we'll talk about the focus of the book, what it focused much for the Vietnamese people so that they could resist the foreign dominations and could produce more nationalist feelings so that they could free their country from these Europeans. So we'll talk about that, the focus of the book, in our next class. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for your attention and for your presence. So that's all for today. Okay? Thank you very much. We'll meet in the next class.